Hello and good morning, all. Um, I welcome you again in India's Mac Admin virtual meetup for November months. Thanks for joining. It's good to see familiar faces joining again the call. I'm very happy. I started the initiative and you guys are helping me. In today's call, we are going to discuss about Apple updates. What are the recent Apple versions? What is the recent Jamp update binaries? What are the new feature into it? And lastly, we are going to talk about macOS software update commands. In this section, we are going to focus on the remote commands, the mass action commands which we have. I don't think majority people are using that feature. So I thought to introduce this to the team so that you guys are aware of this feature. What are the requirement? How can you make sure your organization devices are meeting the requirement, and how can we deploy software update using these remote commands along with deferrals? To start with introduction, my name is Salim Okani, and I'm well known as Samstar in the community. So I have overall 15 years of experience on Apple ecosystem, 8 years of experience on Jamp. I'm Jamp 200, 300, and recently 370 certified engineer, and I love to work on Apple ecosystem. And my hobby is to work with community, help people around, and learn and skill up. To start with, we will keep this interactive. This slide is basically talking about Apple updates. What is the latest version of Apple updates, and maybe if we are aware of any issues. So as per my understanding, the latest versions for iOS and iPad OS devices is 16.1.1, and for Mac OS, the latest version is 13.0.1. I'm not aware of any known issues as of today on these versions. But I would like to thank Abhilash Gupta on this call, who just introduced a new issue which we may face in macOS Ventura. Just like to call out that if we are using Zoom client app in our organization, and if our Zoom client app version is between 6 to 5.12.0, we have a known issue from Zoom where if the client are on this version and if they upgrade to Mac OS Ventura, the auto update feature will not work. The client may not work, and we need to uninstall and install the application. So that's a known bug. I have the article. So when I will upload this video in our YouTube channel, in the caption, I will make sure this link is made available to you. Please review it because it may impact you if you are using Zoom clients. Apart from this, anyone in this call, are you aware of any known issues or challenges with macOS 13.0.1? This is the right time to call out. Okay, that means there is no bug. Apple is doing great job with Ventura. Jamp update. So, latest binary version with Jamp is 10.42. You can also see the URL from where you can read out the documentation. In this version, there were quite good changes. We have declarative device management support introduced in 10.42. We have configuration profile for managed login items. I believe by now each one of us knows what is login item. How can we configure it? How can we make sure end user cannot disable our critical and core login items? If you don't know that, then I will like to recommend that please go back to our YouTube channel, check our October's month's recording, and I have detailed information around login item and how we can manage it. App installer announcement, in this version, Apple has introduced, sorry, Champ has introduced a good amount of enhancement in app installers. You can see dashboard reportings. You can also find out if you are deleting a smart group from Champ Pro. As soon as you try to delete it, it will give you a prompt that this smart group is part of a scope in app installer. So that's a good add-on feature, which I see. You can also now make available app installer as self-service feature in JAMF. So before we can only install app install automatically, but now you can make it available. One higher important aspect which I have not captured here is with 10.42, Apple has changed the UI. The new UI is more modern, but I was used to the legacy one, so I did not like it. But I this is what I know about Champ Pro 1042. Is there anyone who would like to add anything on 1042 features? Anything which any challenges? Very good. I'm, I'm capturing everything then. Thank you. So let's talk about upgrading Mac OS Ventura. For last meetup, we discussed about readiness towards Ventura. We discussed about Gina critical sessions. Okay. So we know now what all we need to do to bring the readiness of Ventura. But what we have to do once we are ready, if we are ready, how can we upgrade macOS Ventura? There are many ways to do it. We can do it through VPP apps, we can do it to self-service and stuff. So the primary focus about upgrading for today's session is using and utilizing mass action commands to upgrade to macOS Ventura. Okay, but before that, if you are still not ready for macOS Ventura, if you remember that Apple has now introduced a new software upgrade path for macOS Ventura. If your devices are on macOS version 12.3 and higher, then macOS Ventura will be available in couple of days as a minor update. Okay, so if you're not ready, what you can do? There are few things which can be used as a workaround. The very first thing is, you can go in Champ Pro, you can go to restriction, and you can disable the automatic checking of software update. What this will do is basically this configuration will make sure that the end device is not automatically checking for updates. And as it is not checking for updates, the new macOS Ventura will not be visible. Just kind of a workaround which you can do. This will make sure you have some more time to bring the readiness of macOS Ventura. Restrictions, if you are going to use the full installer of Mac OS versions, then restriction is a good tool. Okay, so we can restrict my application name, where we can add install Mac OS Ventura.app. We can either alert ourselves or end user that okay, this is not allowed, or we can simply kill the process. Same way, we can also restrict using install assistant process name. So install assistant process name is invoked only and only when you have a local copy of a major OS installer and when user double clicks it. So when you double click an installer app, the process name in backend which is invoked is install assistant. And by restricting install assistant process name, we can restrict the installation. We need to note that if we are using a command line tool called start OS install, you know, this will not be blocked with this restriction process. So it's a good restriction process which we can implement, which can avoid end user upgrading to Ventura. Lastly, we can defer major and minor OS versions. Obviously, we all know that we can defer it through configuration profile. The maximum days to which we can defer is 90 days from the date of release of the Mac OS. Okay. If you don't know how to do it, and if you need a custom profile to do it, this is the right time to scan this QR code. This will take you to our YouTube channel. You can watch our October month's video where I have a detailed information about how can you restrict or how can you defer major or minor OS. These are few aspects how you can restrict or do not allow an end user to upgrade to Ventura. Okay. So let's talk about, how can we allow them, imagine we are ready for macOS Ventura and now we need to deploy. So in some organization, they do a very granular controls and, they make sure only those user upgrade to Ventura where all the applications are compatible or, they are ready. But in some organization, they are a bit lenient and they just want to make available Ventura for end user. So in this scenario, we can use volume purchasing, Apple VPP plan. So in Jam Pro, if you go to Mac apps, in Mac apps, you can add a new software title called macOS Ventura, select it and make it available in Jam self-service. When a user go to this self-service, when he clicks on install, it will redirect the end user to software update path and it will automatically start the upgrade process through software update. But if you want to make sure the machine is compatible and you want to make sure you don't see many failures, or if you want to don't see any incident count reported because of the upgrade process, organization also can use a good deployment framework. you know on my screen, I'm just showcasing a high level Mac OS major upgrade workflow. Okay. In this workflow, we are going to use the traditional way of upgrading macOS major update, okay, which is deploying it through a policy. We will have extension attributes. We will have smart groups. We will pre-cache the installer to avoid the delay in the download process. We have some management actions and we have end user notification. Just 1 minute. Oops. Mm. Just to show you the workflow in a Zoom aspect, in this process, we have extension attribute. This extension attribute is basically a Mac OS Ventura compatibility checker. You know, it runs on end device machine. It checks whether the hardware model is compatible with the latest Mac OS major upgrade. It also checks the disk space requirement and it then gives you a value. So we have extension attribute, we have some JMF actions, we have policies, we have notification and smart group. So as we know that extension attributes update the value only and only when JMF inventory is triggered. Okay. So as soon as you add this extension attribute in your JAMP instance, it will populate a value called yes or a value called no. A value yes means the macOS hardware, the endpoint hardware is compatible with the latest major version. Okay. And no means the macOS hardware is not compatible. So in our workflow, if inventory update runs, which is a JAMF management action, it will run the script from in backend and update a value. If the value is no, that means if the endpoint is not compatible with Ventura, it will update the value as no. And there is a smart group logic created in backend. And this smart group, as soon as the machine is added to the smart group, This smart group will send an email to the support group updating them that this endpoint is not compatible with the latest macOS version, and the end support group will work with end user and they will try to fix the issue. If the hardware is not compatible as per the requirement from Apple, the device will be eligible for a refresh. We cannot do anything. But if it is something else, like this space issue or any other issue, the support team will fix the issue. And after the next inventory cycle, the compatibility check will run and the compatibility will come back with a yes value. A yes value means the Mac device is compatible for the latest macOS upgrade, which is Ventura. It will update a value in a smart group, and this smart group will be part of a smart group. Sorry, this smart group, which is compatible for macOS upgrade, will be part of a policy. So this policy, what is this policy? In this policy, we will already have a JAMF latest macOS installer. So the overall process is we will go to Apple servers. We will download the latest installer. We can download it directly from software update. We can download it from command line tool. There are many scripts available in the market in the GitHub, which is open source. You can use any one of the script and you can download a local copy of macOS installer, which will be uploaded to Jamf. And then that installer will be part of the policy. And the scope of that policy is the smart group. And this smart group is basically saying these are the compatible devices for Ventura. And as these are compatible devices, they have enough disk space. This policy will automatically cache the installer on the Mac. So once the installer is cached, the policy will run update inventory, which will also update a smart group that, okay, now the eligible device has a local copy of the installer, and this is the right time to give end user a notification. In the notification, what normally we do is we inform end user that, okay, your Mac is now eligible for the upgrade for the latest Mac OS version. Please click here to go to a policy. When user clicks that notification, it will take user to an upgrade to Mac OS policy, where user will see an upgrade button and user will click upgrade. Obviously, this policy will have a mandatory description where we are informing that please make sure all your application are closed, all your data is saved, the machine is connected with power, and start the process. Approximately, if you are pre-caching your installer, it takes around 15 to 20 minutes for the entire upgrade process, and the end device is then upgraded. So this is the traditional approach which we take. Good part is we are avoiding the download time, but it also has cons. With pros there are cons. The con is, as we are downloading the installer and uploading it to jamf, imagine I did it today. So I downloaded macOS Ventura 13.0.1. Okay, after 1 month we will have macOS version 13.1.0. So there is a maintenance required for this process. As soon as we have latest versions of Mac OS installers, we need to download them. We need to make sure we are updating them. Obviously, software update can take care of it, but your security team wants that whenever user upgrades, they should upgrade to latest and greatest. Then this is the maintenance activity which we need to do. So this is traditionally how we normally do. This is a high level workflow. If anyone is not familiar with the core concept of extension attributes, smart group, notification, you guys can feel free to reach me in our group or Champ Nation. I'm going to share the QR code where you can contact me in the last slide. So you can copy that QR code or save it for later use. Feel free to get in touch with me and I'll help you to set up this in your environment. let's talk about the main topic. You know, the automated way of upgrading a Mac OS, which also empowers end user or gives them an ability to select the upgrade on as per their availability. So we are talking about Apple remote commands. We are talking about mass actions. Okay. So what are we going to discuss today? We are going to take an overview, how mass action works, what are the requirement for mass action to work correctly. We can review our environment, whether we are meeting the requirements. If we are not meeting the requirements, what we need to do and how can we deploy. So this is a high level overview. On the left hand side of my screen, you see a require manage update notification. So this is a notification which is visible to end user when you do a mass action remote command for Mac OS update. It will inform user that okay, there is a manage update required on your Mac. You need minimum 50% of your battery, or maybe, or you can connect your Mac to a power cord. Okay, it gives users an option to install it right now, try it tonight, or remind an end user the next day. This way of updating a Mac OS, just wanted to update that this is not only for a major upgrade, but this is also for a minor update. You can use it for both the scenario. So, but for today's context, we are going to discuss about a major upgrade. How can we do a major upgrade with remote commands? Okay. So in my overview, I would like to tell you that this way of updating Mac OS versions is very quick. It is very easy to implement from a Mac admin stand of view. Point of view, and it is interactive because it interacts with end users and empowers the end users to select the days when he or she wants to upgrade it. And lastly, it works if you are meeting all the requirement which we are going to discuss in next slides. It works. I have tested it correctly. It works. No issues with this. Requirements. So on the right hand side, if you see, we have a screenshot for remote commands where I have selected update OS version. If you come down, we have a target version where I have selected specific version because I don't want any version to go on my end device. I want that only specific version which I am selecting on this settings. Only that version should go to the Mac devices. And there are install actions. So in install actions, we have three options which we are going to cover where we are deploying it, but we have options there. So in requirements, if you are going to deploy remote commands with a specific version, if you want to deploy, say, macOS version 13.0.1 on all macOS devices, then the requirement says that you need to be on minimum macOS 10.15 or later. That means you have to be on Catalina or later. But on personal experience speaking, I will recommend that if you are using remote commands and want to use specific version upgrade, please make sure you are at least on 10.15.7 or later so that it works correctly. Okay. Again, if you want to use this remote commands to deploy specific versions along with deferrals, as I told you, it is interactive. It empowers users to select when they want to install. Okay. That feature comes with deferrals. So if you want to give user a deferral, say that you send the remote command today, and if you can say that you want to give 7 deferrals to end user. So you can select max user deferrals to 7 days. Okay. But these deferrals will work only and only if the Mac OS version is minimum 12.3 or later. For deferrals, the requirement is 12.3 or later. So make sure, if you're on 12.3 or later, then only deferral will work. Otherwise, user will see some notification like this: install try tonight. That's it. If they are on 12.3 and later, they will also see a deferral window where they can defer it for 1 to 3 days or 7 days, whatever is the max. Okay. The deferral value in this context is an integer. Okay. And 0 to 90 days is the 0 to 99 days is the setting. So you can give either 0 user deferrals, or you can set it to any number till 99. Very important aspect in this is about Apple Silicon. For this automated way of installation to work correctly, if you don't want that this prompt users to end user to enter their credentials, we need to make sure that for on Apple Silicon device, the Bootstrap token is accrued to Jamf. If the Bootstrap token is accrued to Jamf, then when you send the remote commands, the remote command will automatically take the Bootstrap token from Jamf, and it will give a seamless experience to end user. Otherwise, if the Bootstrap token is not accrued, then it will prompt end user to enter the credential, which breaks the entire automated flow of it. There are few requirements for this. Again, you know if your device is on Mac OS version 10.15.4 and higher, okay, then the Bootstrap token is accrued only and only when a user with secure token logs into a Mac. Now you will say, what is secure token? Then I have a slide when the secure token is generated, and how the Bootstrap token will come, which is coming now. I may not be able to explain you in detail because that slide doesn't belong to me. That slide belongs to, traveling tech guy. He's a superb Mac admin guy. I will give you the links. You guys can go and read the detail about secure token, Bootstrap token, and stuff. Okay. If your Mac OS is on version 11.0.1 or later, then if you are using a pre-stage enrollment, and during pre-stage enrollment you are creating an account, so during account creation, not only the Mac and end user will get secure token, but also it will accrue Bootstrap token by default. So these are the requirement for remote commands to work correctly. How can we review this in our environment? How to make sure we are green and this should work. We can review it with an extension attribute. You can create an extension attribute and find the value of Bootstrap, whether it is accrued or not. So extension attribute requirement is no longer required, because in the current binary version of Jamf, if you go to computer inventory, under security, we have Bootstrap accrued section, and the value is yes and no. If the value is yes, that means the Bootstrap token is accrued to Jamf. If the value is no, that means the Bootstrap token is not accrued. So we need to make sure the remote commands you are sending on Apple Silicon devices, the Bootstrap token is set to yes, so that you have the automated way of uh, updating a end device. Okay. But just in case if someone still want to review how the extension attribute works, in my GitHub page, you find it. And when I share the recordings, in the caption, I will make sure you will see the GitHub location. You can go there, download the extension attribute, upload in your environment and test it out. Again, after enabling extension attribute, Bootstrap token will only accrued uh, when a secure token user logs in, if the macOS version is 10.15.4, or if the macOS version is 11.0.1 or later, it will be accrued if you are creating an account during pre-stage enrollment. So now we know what is the requirement. We have already reviewed our environment. If our environment is not meeting the requirement, how to make sure it meets the requirement? Very first thing is upgrade it to latest and greatest. To the minimum, if you upgrade it to 11.x, then it will make sure your requirements are met, or get it to latest. You can always use the workflow which I have provided you in the previous screens. Okay, make sure your secure token settings are enabled. When you enable a file vault, file vault will give secure token to the device if the device do not have tokens. Okay, and then the bootstrap token escrow will happen. On the right hand side, I have kept a screenshot. This screenshot has captured from Traveling Tech Guy blog. He's a Mac admin. He's a JAMF resource who has written a very good article, explains you about secure token, bootstrap token. I may not justify the workflow. I will give it an attempt. But if you want to have a detailed information, then please go through this blog. Oops. If I zoom in this process says if you are using a pre-stage enrollment and during setup assistance, if you are creating an account, okay, if you remember in pre-stage, we have a section called account, and normally people skip account creation. If you don't skip the account creation, and during first setup assistant, if the account is created, then if the macOS version is 11.0.1 and higher, it will automatically give the secure token to this newly created user along with bootstrap token accrued to Jamf. So this is the right and straight way. But if in pre-stage you are saying that skip account creation, if you are skipping the account creation, that means the secure token will not be generated and the bootstrap will not happen. Now, if the bootstrap is not happening, how will secure token will be generated? How will bootstrap happen? So there are two ways. One way is binding to AD, which is deprecated. Apple is saying don't bind your device to AD. But if you are binding to AD and at first log on, when your file vault is enabled, it gives you a secure token. And once a secure token enabled user logs into the Mac, it then creates a bootstrap for you and upload is in the JAMF. Same way, we can also use a third party application or script to do that. In my example, we have Jam Connect. You know, during the initial first login of Jam Connect, it can create an account to you, which will give you secure token. And once you have secure token and once you logs in, it gives you a bootstrap and it uploads to Jam binary. I'm sure I have not justified this slide, but this is how it works. And I would recommend you guys to go and review this article from Traveling Tech Guy. If you are making sure all these requirements are met, then you can simply deploy the mask command. If you want to deploy the mask command, you can use a search, a simple search in Jamf Pro. You can use advanced search in Jamf Pro. You can use a static group or you can use a smart group. If you are using a smart group, make sure the criteria is for eligible hardware which is compatible with Mac OS Ventura. We don't want to deploy this to a device which is not eligible or not compatible. Okay, so make sure your criteria is good. Once your criteria is set, you can click on view from bottom. When you click on view, you get a button on bottom left which is action. You can click on action. So when you click on action, this is a window which you will see on Jam. This window gives you an option to edit building and department information, edit management action information. If you have integrated GSX with your Jamf instance, then you can also automatically populate purchase information in Jamf along with the warranty expiry in your Jamf. Okay, you can send a mass email to end user. You can do a mass deletion. And to be focused on this topic, we can send a remote commands. When you click on remote commands, we will see the screen where we can send remote commands to lock the device. We can set the Bluetooth. We can set remote desktop. We can set activation code or renew MDM profile. Okay, but we are focused on updating OS version. So we will select update OS version. When we come down, we see target versions. So we are going to select specific version because we are checking how can we update a device to Ventura with mass action. So I've selected specific version with version 13.0.1, which is latest. And there are three options in the action. First option is download the update for users to install. So this option, it will just download the Mac OS update for end user, and it will notify that the latest update is download and it is on end user to install it. Second option is download and allow macOS to install later. In this option, not only the remote commands will download the macOS, but also it will install. So we can configure deferrals. I have given three deferrals in my example. So after three deferrals, automatically Apple will install when the device is free. So Apple have a AI logic. Apple checks last 21 days of data of your Mac device, and it checks what are the duration in which your Mac device is free. The processes are free, and during that between that hours, Apple will automatically install the latest Mac OS version which we have selected. So it will not only download, give an ability to end user to select their day when they want to upgrade, but also enforce to upgrade end user device to the specific version we have selected. And third option is download, install, and restart. I am not showing that option in this screen because it is not recommended, because it will download Mac OS, it will install automatically, and it will restart the Mac. This scenario from my point of view is good for kiosk devices or Mac OS devices, which are unattended, where we don't have a user. So we can use that option, which will just go download, install, and restart the machine. So yes, this is the agenda for today's discussion. I hope, this was helpful, So I would like to thank you to join the India Mac admin community. Here is the QR code where you can connect with me on Champ Nation. Otherwise, you can contact me in our group. Anything you need, any help you need, I am always there for you. Thanks for joining.